Welcome to the show. And on the show today, I would like to talk about chapter 3 of the book I wrote. The book is called Marriage, Mind, Funk, and Mindfulness. And my pen name on that book is Kay Dean, Kaydean. It's for sale on Amazon.com. Marriage, Mind, Funk, and Mindfulness is about marriage. Well, how your mind can be effed up. I said funk, not the other word. And mindfulness, how you can learn, like I did at age 59, to react logically. So the book, chapter 3, and the people who affected my life made me such a green jealousy monster who knows their sin and mistakes, but a lot of these people, I don't know, got away with everything. And what they did has affected and it has affected me all my life. It affects young children because I was 7 when the bad thing happened because of her actions. And then I was around 12 when she died from involuntary manslaughter. And you can think I'm making these stories up as I go, which I do make up words to songs as I go, the lyrics of the song, like the song I just saying that you are a cheater that I'm going to put on Facebook. I'm sorry, not Facebook. Oh, gosh. On YouTube, I'm going to put that song on YouTube that I just sang. You are a cheater. You're such a cheater. Because this chapter 3 was labeled or named Charlene, but her name was actually Darlene, and she's been dead probably, I guess, over 40 years, because I was 12 when she died. So, yeah, and I'm just add that up. It's like over 50 years that she passed away from involuntary manslaughter. Darlene was married to my oldest brother, Ken. He dated her. She got pregnant with my mom's first grandchild. Well, they had the wedding. Then the baby was born like 5 or 6 months later. And that happens to people. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as when you make the vow to love and honor. Because in the beginning of the book, Marriage, Mind, Funk, and Mindfulness, I have the vows that I made with my husband. And you honor, cherish, through sickness and in health, until death do you part. Well, this woman was sick, but back then, 50, 60, 70 years ago, there wasn't help for people with sex addiction. And they called it, when I heard at age 12, what was wrong with her, that she was a nymphomaniac. So look that word up, that she would sleep with any man who was willing. And one of the willing was my very own brother-in-law, which he's in this book too, down in one of the future chapters of the book. I wrote it down. He's on chapter 5, that he thought maybe her youngest child might be his, because he did it with her in the hallway of the apartments. They lived across each other. So Darlene had 4 kids. My niece, that's 2 years younger than me. My nephew, that's like 3 or 4 years younger than me. My niece, that's probably 5 years younger than me. And my niece, that's 7 years younger than me. The kids suffered the most. My brother Ken, at the time, when I was 7, 1964, he had a pretty good paying job, but he got the kids. So, back then they usually gave the children to the wife. So I don't know if they didn't have those apartments that were for single parents, but he moved back with my mom. And my mom, because she saves people. She's what do you call her? Someone like her. She's not a savior, because that's Jesus. He saved our souls. She helps people that need it. And if you didn't seem like you needed help, you're pushed aside. And I pretended I didn't need help a lot, but I would lose it because those 4 kids became her priority, and her oldest son, who he was like 18 or 19 when I was born, and he got married like at age 20, 21, and he got divorced at like age 25, 26. Because he gave her chances. He tried to keep the vow, but she kept on sleeping around. Infidelity, adultery. So they move in. And I'm in the front room of the house, the green room we called it, where the washer and dryer ended up being in the green room. And I said, I don't want them to move here. The house only had 2 bedrooms, and their 4 beds would have to go in with mine. Is that jealousy, or is that just being honest and saying, because then my older sister, that's a year and 5 months older, had to stay in that room too. So there were 6 children in that room. My mom and dad had to move into the living room for their bedroom. We only had 1 bathroom upstairs in this 2-story farmhouse that was with my grandma, who had the big 5-bedroom house, but she rented those out to the older kids in our family. So some of them ended up, but to make this long story short that I'm talking about, Darlene, my brother Ken left her after they were married 5 or 6 years, 5, and my niece that was 5 moved in. Let's say their ages were 5, 4, 3, 2.5, 3, and a 9-month-old baby. So a crib had to go in the room with my brother that was up at the top of the steps. There was no door on our bedroom. We had no boundaries. There was no door on the bathroom, just a curtain. Eventually we got an accordion door, but there was still no privacy. And the thing that screwed my mind up totally, was when I said to my mom, I don't want them to move here. And she slapped me across the face and said, you will have no say. Instead of sitting me down and talking to me what the situation exactly was, not telling me about Darlene, that she's a sex addict, nymphomaniac, and my brother has to have a place to live with his 4 little kids, and that things will be okay. And I love you, my daughter. I love you still. It was like, get the hell out of here. You are to be seen and not heard. Go away. And I felt like a nothing nobody from that point on. And I tried to help with the kids to get some attention, and I loved them. Of course, we went roller skating or different places together. But as a 7-year-old kid, the 9.5, how old was she? She was 8.5, could go to Aunt Sarah and Uncle Lamar's with Patsy. If you watched my other 2 chapters, because this is chapter 3 of the book, she was allowed to go and stay there because she was only a couple months younger than Patsy, and I was like 1.5 years younger than Patsy, and I wet the bed. So I was the evil for that because I wet the bed. I actually peed in my mom's bed when I went to them one night. I was scared, and it was like, look what you did. Like I am some kind of piece of crap again and again and again. And my sister Ann and I shared a double then in the room. First we had bunk beds at first, but then we had to get the bunk beds and get another set of, I don't know if it was single beds or bunk beds or another double for the other 2 and the crib. And then Ann and I shared a double, and she'd draw a line and say, you're not allowed to cross this line. And when I wet the bed, my mom would just put a blanket over it, and I'd have to lay in that the next night. I know my mom worked hard, and she was doing double or maybe triple what one human could do. But somebody's going to trickle down and lose it and be the scapegoat. But they think I just am crazy, and I was born crazy. So let them be that way and say it. But I know the truth. So the other thing was I'm 7, 8, 9 as we're growing up. The older one that's 1 year and 5 months older than me could go to Patsy's and Uncle Lamar, Sarah and Uncle Lamar to be with Patsy, who had all the dance lessons and fancy costumes when we had the flip-flop club and the plays for Aunt Peg and Uncle Fred when they came in from California. So that's what this chapter is basically about. But I sort of add an ad-lib. It's not a true story. It's fiction because I say how they met and dated, and I don't know all that. I just know he met her, got her pregnant. They got pregnant together, though. Think about it. And it takes 2, baby. So, and if the parts don't fit, that's the way I believe. So don't even, if you want to, whatever, what is it called? Unsubscribe, go for it. I don't care. Anyway, that's how you feel, do it. I would be sent, my mom would send me, the 7, 8, 9-year-old, with the 5, 4, 3, and young. And I'd want to carry the youngest because I am only 7, 8 years old. I could lift her. But the oldest of his kids would want to carry her and say, you're not in our family. It's my dad's car. And I would say, well, I want to carry the baby, the little one that was around 1 year old till we were established and all. And she'd say, no, it's my sister, not yours. And then when I punched the door and broke the glass and had to get stitches, my brother Ken had to take me to the Good Samaritan emergency room for stitches. I was the crazy. What they did was nothing wrong. And wherever we went, wherever we'd go, it was, this is my dad's car. And the TV he brought with him, this is my dad's TV. So I started saying, well, plug it into the ground then, because this is my mom's house. But at my mom's funeral many years ago, the oldest of her grandchildren, a granddaughter, stood up and said, she was my mom. And yes, she was. I lost my mom because I was a scapegoat piece of crap. And that's the truth. I don't care who doesn't believe it. I lived my life. I know the truth. At age 59, when I watched those videos about things that could go wrong in the family and read the birth order book and all kinds of things that can go different with your family life, there's different times in your life, and when stuff like that happens, it affects a 7-year-old child. I was only 1 when he got married. My mom loved to cater weddings, and the wedding, the food, the wedding, the food. I was walking by then when her future sister-in-law, Darlene, had this baby in her belly, and they got married with the pregnancy, which happens, like I said. But it was all about them. And I remember running up behind my mom. I might have been a little older, and this might have been another thing she was catering or making food for. And she kept walking, and I was holding on to the back of her dress because she only wore dresses, and I fell flat on my face. And what was done? Nothing. She had to go stir the food. So, Darlene. Oh, yeah, she died then. She got remarried to a man from Sand Hill, Pennsylvania. He lived in Sand Hill, which is Lebanon. And she had 5 more children that were half siblings to my 4 nieces and 1 nephew that lived with me, grew up with me in a 2-bedroom house. And the story about me sleeping in a drawer because they didn't have room because the one that was 1 year and 5 months old had the crib yet. And I was probably left to cry a lot because of the farming and stuff. But that doesn't matter. I had a roof over my head and a place to sleep and food. My mom even said she dried up with breastfeeding me, that Aunt Alma tried feeding me because she had her son Frank, Butch, at the time. So being sent with them everywhere. And Darlene ended up sleeping around, and she slept with some guy, and they ended up at a dam or a pond, whatever you want to call it. And she was giving him oral sex, and he held her down, and she died. She was choked to death. And he got involuntary manslaughter for that. And then when they were talking, the gossiping of the Pennsylvania Dutch people, we're all human and sinful here. It's the heart, because trash comes in all colors, and our sin is in all of us. I heard them talking about that Darlene got killed. She died because she was given oral sex. I think they said the words oral sex to a gentleman at this dam in Pennsylvania, and that she was dead. So Ken's first wife died. So at age 12, I was like, whoa, she was a nymphomaniac. What the hell is that? Oh, well, a sex addict, basically, if you look up the word in the dictionary. And I'm 12, and all these other things going on in our lives with Ken going into her sister's house, Audrey, and we were friends with her till she got pregnant. And then he said he didn't touch her. And Darlene has affected me deeply. She's been dead and gone because you can sin unto death. Like overeating can kill you too, as I'm a food addict. And you can lose lots of years of your life because of not taking care of the temple. That, don't you know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? Therefore, honor God with your body in all ways. She was very dishonoring and died in a sexual act. That's chapter 3 of my book. So, let's just keep singing, dancing, making music, and having fun as much as possible. And rejoice in the Lord always. I'm adding that today. Because like the footprints in the sand, he carried me through all of this. And my family of origin right here, that's still alive, not the ones that passed away. And my sister Jean, who definitely believed me about the narcissistic abuse that I went through with my sister-in-law, Kathy. And she's been dead and gone, but I appreciate that she cared and loved me enough. And let those who are the enablers just carry on. So take care.